So as promised, one of my listeners, great dear listener, and I would say a friend, I'm not gonna oust them, but we did have a conversation, in-depth conversation, and she told me I gotta stop talking about my 8-incher, and I gotta stop telling the city of Wayne to suck my 8-incher to the balls. Right? She said I gotta stop doing that. So, out of respect for that lovely woman, my dear friend, I'm gonna adhere to her request, and I'm going to be more politically correct in the sense of, she said I have to be more politician-like, right? So she says, although she understands deeply why I say and do what I do, she says it would be, she would appreciate it nonetheless if I would stop telling the city of Wayne to suck my 8-inch dick to the balls. So, you know who you are. And I couldn't tell, I think she was really kind of intrigued by the whole prospect of it and everything. And clearly she just wanted what's best for me. So we're going to refrain from that type of sort of rhetoric in the future, just out of respect. So this will be the last time you'll hear me use the phrase, suck my 8-inch dick to the balls, anything of that effect. Although it is catchy and it is memorable and it is accurate, it is a bit crude, and so we're gonna stop using that, and we're also gonna stop dropping hard R, right? So we're just gonna say jogger, right? That's gonna be the new hard R, jogger, right? Gur. We're gonna we're just gonna call it jogger. So but yeah, we are back. So yeah, that's basically it though. Got to move a little bit differently. Got to be more, less abrasive, more polished, right? Less impetuous. So I'm going to respect my elders. Although, like I said, this one's real pretty woman. Doesn't look like, man, I thought she was about 30, 35, So, but, yeah, we gotta move a bit differently. Which I knew that was coming. I knew that was certain. That was inevitable. And it's, obviously time for me to, give these cases the respect and the performance that they deserve, right? I mean, these cases, especially this fire pit case, this impacts a lot of people. A lot of human beings are impacted by this case, and a lot of people in Wayne, a lot of Wayniacs, a lot of Waynos are impacted. And so, we have to see. Right? I mean, the city of Wayne wanted my property to be a spectacle, and now we're going to make all of their actions on May 9th. We're going to heavily scrutinize them, and we're going to put them under a forensic microscope, a constitutional microscope, and we're going to be auditing, right, auditing the May 9th incident in court, right? We're going to be having discussions with the courts about, how is it so that the city of Wayne trespassed on my private property to enforce a law that doesn't exist, right? Well, obviously we saw how it happened. It's because of animus and because of misinformation, Facebook videos, political, speech, and ultimately the ultimate form of political speech that I've engaged in, which is Zook Pond, right? The city of Wayne's first and only body of water, totally under federal and state jurisdiction, right? Which is, even more poetic justice, the fact that the city of Wayne doesn't actually have any sort of jurisdiction over that piece of land, right? So while my whole property might be in the city of Wayne limits, the city limits, right? That particular the piece of land in which the pond sits on, right, is protected wetland by the state. And we're going to go a step further. Excuse me. I got the hiccups. But we're going to go a step further. And we're going to have the land be declared conservation land by the federal government as well. So we got some ideas up our sleeve, right, up this sleeve, if you want to visualize it. But that's what we have. We have the Michigan Tax Tribunal case, those two cases, and we have we got a lot of issues, a lot of things to discuss, to talk about, to figure out, and it's morphed into just more than one case, right? This channel, the city of Wayne, yes, they came out to the property 5 times over this fire pit. Actually, more than that, about 6 or 7 times, because Lieutenant Perez came out. He's a police officer. He came out in June as well, and then at least a half a dozen or more where they drove by, they maybe stopped and got out but never engaged, whatever. So there's a lot, right? There's a lot of discovery and a lot of FOIA that we have not received, right? Most of it we actually haven't received, right? So that's what this court date coming up is for, of course. And we're going to be asking the court to impose sanctions, and we're going to be asking the court to do a lot of different things. An evidentiary hearing is what we need to have, because the city of Wayne's flat out refusing to comply with court orders, and they've admitted it. They've expressly admitted it, that they've given some partial body-worn camera footage, right, months and months and months after. You get piece by piece, right? We still don't have all that. We don't have any CAD, dispatch, radio logs, nothing. There's so many things that have been requested, that have been compelled to be, that have been ordered by the court to be turned over, and we have not received any of it. And the city is acknowledging that they haven't released any of that. So it's kind of bizarre what they're doing. Because basically, I've lived in the city of Wayne for like literally 2 years now. And at this point, I'm only asking for essentially a year's worth of information. I'm not even asking for 2 years worth. I'm just asking from May 9th onward. And, haven't received it. And, like, for instance, July 5th, right? So I received July 5th body-worn camera footage only after I was, finally released from jail in December, January. When I picked it up, I couldn't see the exact date, but it was after I was, sentenced and all that. right? And I asked for all of July 5th. They give me 1 out of 3 of the police officers' body-worn cameras. So 1 out of 3. They don't give any dispatch, any of that, right? Because we want the full story. We want to know what was said to the Wayne, what transpired, right? We want to know what was conveyed, what message, what complaint, what sort of complaint, what sort of message was conveyed to the city of Wayne, and then what they did with that information, right? Because, there was some, discretion, we'll say, and, some decisions were made, some discussions were had, and some decisions were made. And so we it's privy that we have access to all that information, because otherwise you can't properly defend yourself without the discovery. So, the fact that the city, again, is soliciting a plea bargain when they haven't even handed over discovery is, really, that's the ultimate due process violation. It goes without saying, right? The judge has ordered the city to do something numerous times, and they've failed to do it. And they've actually admitted that they haven't done it, right? And so, we have our receipts, we have everything, and, we're going to basically go for broke is what we're doing. We're going to go for broke on this one, because I think I got my opponent right where I want them. I think this is a 15-round title fight. And I think the first few rounds, I may have gotten knocked down. I may have even gotten knocked down twice in one round, right? But I've weathered the storm. I've come back. I've fought my way through the bullshit, right? Through just the fiction, right? Because that's all this is. It was a fabrication of evidence, right? Withholding expulsionary evidence, right? This is the city of Wayne's MO. My case really demonstrates it to the world, right? The Blackwell case kind of started it and proved it, right? But the city of Wayne's problems have been going on long before the Blackwell case, long before. But the Blackwell case really proved it, right? And it proved it really well, and it proved it undeniably well. And, this case, the McFarland case, well, there's a bit more to it than the Blackwell case, right? The Blackwell case was relatively simple. But let's read some of the comments. Buddy says, hi. How you doing, buddy? Hi, Dad. Well, I'm not your father, but thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Be careful driving and using phone. Yeah, we don't do that. Everything's done through the touch screen here, which is integrated through the car itself. So that's how we do that. Hello from Tennessee, Joe W, 1867. Hello, Joe. But yeah. Anyway, so we still haven't gotten discovery. We still haven't gotten transcripts. Our background, right, which is another thing that we're bringing up, that we're filing with the court. The fact that my background has been, for months, inaccurately reported by the Wayne PD. It's been inaccurately reported to the Michigan State Police. They have me pleading no contest to assault and battery of a police officer, 18 months probation. Well, that's not accurate. There is no probation. Probation was terminated less than 2 months in because of injustice, right? In the interest of justice, right? So that deposition is wrong. But more so than that, I never pled no contest to assaulting anybody or anything, and those charges were disposed of, right? So, of course, as we can show in the video evidence, the video evidence speaks for itself, and it shows that particular incident where they're talking about, I spit on a police officer. Well, that's just a outright bona fide lie. And the video evidence shows that, right? So that is just bullshit, right? But the fact that you pled no contest to disorderly conduct, right? Disorderly conduct, which again, how can you be disorderly on your own private property? You can't. Well, that's the secret there. But okay, disorderly conduct, whatever. It was a disorderly day, whatever you want to call it. That's what I pled no contest to, because I was forced to. I had already overserved the sentence, and they legally couldn't keep me in jail anyways, but they were literally falsely imprisoning me and keeping me in jail, right? And so this is district court level shit. This is why they didn't want to bind over the case, right? How do you charge somebody with assault and battery of a police officer, but you don't want to bind it over to the circuit court, right? You want to keep it at the district court. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about these people. They think they're so smart, but what the city of Wayne did was they overplayed their hand, right? Had they just been like, okay, right, you found out we don't have a codified ordinance, okay, we're going to drop it, you would have been in a lot better situation. Everybody would have. And, I probably wouldn't have pursued it. Certainly not as hard as I am now, right? That you falsely imprisoned me and, banished me from my home, and, now you're trying to take my home, right? Saying that I owe you $13,400 in back property taxes because you abused the legal process and falsely stripped away my state guaranteed tax exemption, MCL 211.7B, right? And so it's of course the whole idea is to get me declared in arrears, right? In arrears to the city, so then the city can use that as a justification to keep me off the ballot, right? Because it's just that simple. My political speech, right? I wasn't allowed at City Hall. I wasn't allowed to have a sign in my yard. As a matter of fact, that sign lawsuit that we have ongoing right now in federal court, which just got a whole lot interesting, by the way. It got a hell of a lot more interesting. But yeah, I wasn't all, those signs were used as a way to remand me and to keep me in jail, you understand? So those were one of the things that the city of Wayne pushed so hard to the court, right? Said, I'm not allowed to have these signs. It's in violation of my bond, right? So they had a gag order on me because they don't want, this is what this whole case is all about, which is my political speech, right? So you got to ask, right? Well, if I'm, because they'll of course say I'm super smart, very smart, but I'm crazy, right? They'll say all these things to try to discredit me, right? But you notice they never say I'm wrong. They never say I'm factually incorrect. They never say I'm lying, right? They just say I'm crazy, right? Yeah, well, when you know what somebody's up to and you have enough courage like I do to speak out against it and to speak up, right? To say something, right? No matter what the consequences, that's scary, right? To someone who's a criminal like these people are, right? The entire city of Wayne, city government, city council, from John Racy to Kevin Dowd to Donald Quarles to Kathy Lawrence to Deborah Wise to Rob Darwich, right? Alfred Brock, all of these fucking idiots, Tina Parnell, they're all criminals. Lori Gowen, Diane Webb, Carolyn Miller, Brita O'Leary, Finley Carter, Ryan Strong. The list goes on and on. There's a few more I'm missing. There's a few more. There's a few more I'm missing, right? Bob Watson, Kirk Malcolmson, right? There's all sorts of Jeremy Snyder, right? Fire Marshal Jeremy Snyder. What's the other one? Robert Amori, right? He retired, right? He said, "Fuck this! I'm getting the fuck out of here. I see the ship is sinking," right? So, yeah, there's quite a few fucking dirtbags, quite a few dirtbag motherfuckers that maliciously prosecuted a disabled veteran under an ordinance, right? That didn't even exist, didn't even fucking exist. Right, under an open burn policy that they misrepresented to the court, lied to the court, falsely stated to the court that I was violating some sort of a burn ordinance, some valid enforceable burn ordinance, When come to find out, oh, the open burn policy was never codified. There's no date on it. There's no date it was enacted. There's no date that it was signed. There's not even a signature on it. There's no ordinance number. And then what's odd enough about it is it actually has a little section, right? It's only one page, and there's a little section that has some ordinances listed, right? 1278 and 1278.07 are listed on that open burn policy, both of which have been repealed prior to May 9th, 2025. Prior to March 28th, 2024, right? Prior to me ever existing in the city of Wayne, those ordinances were repealed, right? And of course, the open burn policy was never an ordinance, right? But that's what they told the court. That's what they told the court, that they were on my property enforcing their open burn ordinance. And come to find out, no such thing actually existed. And there was no ordinance. There never was. Where the weed at? The weed is all over. Just look around. Where the fuck's the weed at? That's like asking you, where's the air at, right? If you live in Michigan, where's the weed at? That's like asking, where's the air, right? Where's the cold, right? Just look around you. It's quite literally everywhere. Quite literally fucking everywhere. But, yeah, I mean, there's nothing that I can do or say at this point that's going to make this go away. There is no making this go away, right? And that's for good reason, right? Because the city of Wayne tried to make me go away, literally. They were hoping that I would die in jail, that I would prior restrain myself or chill myself, right? Chill my speech to the point where I would just leave, right? Any normal, sane person, right? Any person who doesn't, who isn't a soldier and, kind of knows how to deal with trauma, who's kind of used to dealing with it. Any person of lesser mental fortitude, they would have packed up and left, right? And that's what, of course, the city of Wayne wanted. Well, then they realized, okay, he's not leaving. He's running for office. He's still running for office. He never stopped running. Now he's running, now he's been in the city, lived over here for over a year, so now he can run for office. And so now it's like, well, damn, now we're going to try to take away his tax exemption so we can falsely claim he owes us like $14,000. And, it's like the goalposts keep moving, but you know where they're moving to, right? And it's not like this shit's rocket science, impossible to prove. No, it's all right there. It's all clearly spelled out. It's right there. You just take it and you point to it and you point to it and you point to it. And you refuse to not point to it until the court acknowledges it, right? Acknowledges the fact that, wait a minute, right? Just like with this sign ordinance, because the city of Wayne's trying to, we don't, it's neutral, it's enforced neutrally, and it's content neutral, which of course it's not, right? Of course it's not. But now that we've, filed our new motion now with the court and our new brief, clearly demonstrating in great detail, yeah, well, it seems to me, the city of Wayne's arguing that this ordinance, this sign ordinance they have is the law. But then as you look around all over Wayne, quite literally on every corner of Wayne and right in the middle of Wayne, right across from the courthouse, right across from City Hall, actually, there's illegally placed signs everywhere. Everywhere in the city of Wayne, there's illegally placed signs all over Michigan Avenue. There's dozens and dozens. Every corner of Wayne, Michigan has illegally placed signs that are in violation of their sign ordinance. And, I've spoken with homeowners, with business owners and the like, and I've asked them all the same questions. Do you guys pay for a permit for that temporary sign? They say, huh? What? Temporary sign permit? I say, yeah, you're supposed to pay for a permit for that. And they just kind of, they shrug their shoulders and kind of laugh and chuckle and go, no, I don't know anything about that. So, okay, and I ask them, well, then how long have you had this sign outside? Oh, I've had this sign out all year. I've had it out since last year. I've had it out, for over a year, right? So it's like, okay, well, then you're like, well, shit. Clearly the sign ordinance isn't being enforced, so then it's clearly not, important, right? The city doesn't really treasure it, doesn't really consider it legitimate. If they're not equally enforcing it, right, then they don't really have a lot of confidence in it, a lot of faith in it, right? But they're saying it's the law, but they're not enforcing it. They're only selectively enforcing it against certain people like myself. right? So similarly situated people all over Wayne, Michigan have illegal signs, right, as they have called mine. And they have never paid for a sign permit. They've never been sent a notice to pay for one. And so, yeah, and then you have some places that, like, the signs are in public easements, which you can't do that at all. You have some businesses that have like a dozen or more signs, right? St. Mary's Church, the Catholic Church, right downtown Wayne, Michigan, right off Michigan Avenue, has over a dozen temporary signs. You're only allowed to have 2 signs according to the ordinance. So yeah, it's just a mess, right? It's just typical City of Wayne hypocrisy, City of Wayne buffoonery, fuckery, cuckery, whatever you want to call it, right? Because I mean, it's not like, what's sad is I'm not that smart of a guy, people. Like I have a slightly above average IQ, and I've had a traumatic brain injury, several to boot, right? I've consumed copious amounts of herb of the earth in my lifetime. And, you know, if anyone should be getting fooled and duped, and, you know, it should be me, right? And the fact that I can see this stuff so vividly, so easily, right? Without even having to I don't even have to make an effort, like, to see this shit, right? It's just stuff that's evident, that's obvious, that's just, there it is, right? And so the city of Wayne's got bigger problems on their hands. If somebody like me is their kryptonite, right? Well then, what does that make them, right? I mean, if these people are so just, like, I don't even know the word, right? Triggered, right? If these people are so triggered by me and my presence, because of, you know, the fact that I'm able to call out and to see what they're doing, right? And to do it in a way where it's like I'm doing it in layman's terms, right? I'm not some PhD level, high level genius type of person. You know, I'm just a normal everyday American like you, and that's what's so scary to them, is the fact that I'm relatable, and, you know, I have enough intelligence to fuck shit up for them, and but I'm also personable, right? And I have ability to, you know, get people to agree with what I'm saying. You know, regardless if you like me, regardless of what you think about me, you know, that's fine, right? We can discuss that, we can talk about that, but truth is the truth, facts are the facts, right? You know, success, right? The city of Wayne has never, right? Which is, you know, if I'm so crazy and I'm so this and I'm so that, how come the city of Wayne's just pleading the fifth now? The city of Wayne's just pleading the fifth, and, you know, they're making zero attempt to argue any material facts that I present, because they don't have an argument, because the evidence speaks for itself. The evidence for all of the days, all the times they broke in, the evidence shows that there was no exigency, that there was no emergency, that there was no life or death situation, right? That it was a, you know, nuisance complaint, right? Allegedly, which of course we don't even have proof that that's even the case, right? That's what, you know, discovery's for. So we're gonna, you know, of course, proceed as we can, but I think shit's about to hit the fan. I think shit's about to get a little bit more interesting, because, like I said, the city of Wayne is not ran and operated by competent people. It's just simply not. And it's really, again, it needs a complete and total makeover, entirely, right? Jesus loves you. The older I get, I always remember my Negroes. Exactly, right? You know, I do this for my Negroes. I do this for all the Negroes of Wayne, Michigan. I do this for all of you. I do this for the degenerates, for the bums, for the Negroes, for the cocks, for the betas, for the soy boys, right? For all of you. I do this for all of you, right? I do love the city of Wayne, Michigan. I do love its people. I just simply, again, I can't stand the so-called leadership. It's not real leadership, in Wayne, Michigan. It's very much the opposite of leadership. It's monkeys fucking football, essentially. I don't know what else you would call it. And it's that dysfunctional and that chaotic. It's certainly not any sort of legitimate government, right, of any kind. And it's my understanding that the city of Wayne used to have pretty decent public services, right? I've heard that from numerous people, that the city of Wayne, it's always been high tax, but we used to apparently have pretty good public service. And now we have Tina Parnell, Tina the llama, screaming at you, right? Because you're bothering her, right? Because how dare you walk into City Hall with a question or something to give her? How dare you, right? So, I don't know. I know most people agree with what I'm saying. 80 to 90% of people agree wholeheartedly with what I say and what I represent, what I stand for. And that's what really terrifies the city of Wayne is, I can stumble and fall and slip and do all that, and I can pick myself up the next day and just continue onward, marching forward like the Terminator, right? Like the Incredible Hulk, right? So I guess in the city of Wayne's eyes, nothing really slows me down. And right, that is the case. Nothing will slow us down unless it's a bullet to the head. That's the only thing that will slow me down. And, I say that statement with the other statement that I'm not suicidal. I love my life and family. And if you ever see me dead on the side of the road with 2 gunshots to the back of the head, it wasn't a suicide, right? So... Can you play Head Up by The Score? Yeah, probably could, but can't on the video. We don't want to get a copyright strike, but yeah, I'll play it for you. Are you an IT nerd? Negative. Yeah, I like IT. I like tech. I like AI. I like software. I like apps, I like all that shit, but I wouldn't call myself an IT nerd. Definitely not. Nope, I'm just, I'm a millennial that is tired of, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm tired of jogger bullshit, right? I'm just tired of, we all have jogger fatigue. We're all extremely fatigued, right? With the white joggers, the black joggers, and everything in between, right? We're just tired of it. The LGBT joggers, right? Where it's your entire identity and all that. So anyways, obviously the city of Wayne has a lot of work to do. It's got a lot of problems, and I firmly believe, wholeheartedly believe that I will do a better job than most, and I care more than most. And you got to have a little bit of funk to you, so to speak, to be able to carry out these big plans and these goals, right? You got to have a little bit of a crazy kind of streak in you, right? A no quit type of mentality. So I know I'm that guy, as far as I'm up to the challenge, so to speak, and I know that I can produce a better outcome and a better product and a better service than what our current offering is, right? So I know that for certain, without any doubt about it whatsoever. I know that. So I hope to, again, like I said, propel the city of Wayne, Michigan forward in a way that benefits, the taxpayers, the residents, not the parasites in government, right? Not the bureaucrats, not the elites, right? The so-called elites, right? So we'll let you go here soon, but I'll finish smoking. I'll smoke this fatty, the CBD with you. Had a great night last night. Got a lot of shit done. Didn't get as much done today yet, but we're going to be working on that all day and all night. The name of the game is just perseverance. It's consistency. It's, just chipping away at the armor. And eventually, you're going to nick something, and that's going to start bleeding. And then once you smell that blood, once you see that blood in the water, then it's time to, you know what? You guys have seen National Geographic. And I say this again metaphorically. Don't go out there and do nothing crazy to any of these sick, sadistic people. But, we all know what they deserve. And we all know what God has planned for them. But don't go taking matters into your own hands. Right? And I say that to anyone who might consume this video. Yes, these people are evil. Yes, what I'm saying is accurate and it's true. To the best of my knowledge, all that, disclaimer there, but let the process play out, right? Because that's what these people, like I said, they just want to paint me as some sort of violent person, and it's just a bona fide fucking lie, and everybody knows it. But as you know, guys, it's all about painting a picture, right? It's all about painting a narrative and a story, and mischaracterizing somebody, right? Mischaracterizing and narrating a story that you can portray somebody as a piece of shit or some sort of a menace to society or a dangerous pariah. That's what the city of Wayne treated me like, just for having a bonfire pit. Telling the city of Wayne to, suck my 8-inch dick to the balls, right? Can't have opinions like that, guys, in America, right? You have freedom of speech. You're just not allowed to actually use it. So, in Wayne, Michigan, that is. At that particular time, but, now, like I said, we try the issues with the court and we let the courts decide. We present our case and we present the facts and we see what the court thinks. So that's what we're going to do. That's what we got to do. And, obviously, the more we make a public record about the city of Wayne, the better. It's better for everybody in the future that ever comes in contact with the city of Wayne. So if they're like a feral dog, right? Like if a feral dog bites somebody, you want to have a paper trail of that, right? You want to have a pattern of that, right? You want to, put the dog down, preferably, but if that's not an option, right? Well, then we gotta at least have a track record, right? So we can begin to, like I said again, develop a pattern of misconduct, which is all that I'm doing. That's all that I'm, doing is documenting the city of Wayne and their patterns of misconduct and their incompetence and their malevolence and their insidious ways and their insidious nature and their malicious compliance. That's the best way I would describe the city of Wayne. Or malicious incompetence, one of the two. But there's always a malice aspect to everything that they do, the city of Wayne, that is. So, that's what I so far. And, again, It's malicious prosecution. And vindictive and selective and retaliatory, and yeah, it's scary shit. Scary shit. One of the worst cases you can get, right? Because probable cause is literally impossible. There's not even a possibility that there's probable cause that a crime was committed, right? Which is pretty rare in, America. Pretty rare to have, like, literally a law that doesn't even exist. Interfering with what? Well, just interfering with nothing. Interfering with nothing, okay. So what you were doing was nothing, allegedly. That's basically, yeah, they just have a right. The government's position is they just have a right to come on your property without warrants, without consent, without exigency, to enforce non-laws, policies, right? Policies, procedures, protocols, practices, traditions, customs, right? Anything but an actual codified law, right? So that's their position, that they have a right to do whatever they want, essentially. That your Fourth Amendment right doesn't mean anything. Your curtilage is theirs, and if they want to come to your house for any reason just to check on you, right? I mean, the same thing would apply, like, if I was, using a fire pit in my home, right? And somebody alleged that I was burning the wrong type of wood, or maybe not wood at all, right? Maybe they allege I was burning fucking dog shit, right? Well, according to the city of Wayne, right, they can come in your house. I mean, that's the precedent. They can come into your house to check on you, to inspect, right, to see what you're up to, right? And so just by the fact of you telling them no, then that means they can also suppress and seize and search and seize your property without warrants. And if you dare to question it, well, now you're a criminal. Now you're getting 90 days in jail for interference, right? Right? Interfering with something illegal, which, again, People versus Moreno, look up that Michigan case law. It's just the city of Wayne and their antics are, it's sick. It's abuse is what it is. So this is just a public record. This is for anyone and everyone to consume. That's been my experience, right? So we got more lawsuits coming, more motions that we're filing, and we got more court dates coming up, and more court dates being scheduled, and more lawsuits to file, and more motions to file, and it is just incredible shit. But don't overplay your hands, guys. Like, if you're getting away with something that you really shouldn't be getting away with, then you should probably quit when you're ahead, right? You ever heard that term, quit when you're ahead? Yeah. Sometimes it would be wise to do so. Got a question from Joe W., 1867. Is Wayne a sanctuary city? That's a good question. I would say, yeah. I mean, they clearly don't enforce, like, laws there, right? I wouldn't trust this to properly investigate anything, right? I mean, it's a joke, right? The City of Wayne Police Department, it's not a real police department, right? So, yes, the City of Wayne is a sanctuary city. It doesn't enforce real laws, for one, and it wouldn't know what a proper law is anyways. So if they accidentally, I suppose they could do something right accidentally, but no, they're not properly trained. They don't have any sort of proper training or protocol. They clearly don't know what the Constitution is. So yeah, I would assume, right, based off that, they seem very, they're just run like a very typical Democrat, blue shithole police department, right? It's corrupt, and the smaller the government, the smaller the city or the town or village, right? The smaller the venue, the more cutthroat and insidious the politics are, right? Like cities in all of Metro Detroit, Main County, and yeah, it's very, 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 very cutthroat, and it's very like middle school-ish, right? Very middle school-ish. Or middle school F-isk, right? It's just, yeah, it's like my dad can beat up your dad type of shit, It's real petty, it's real stupid, it's not real thought out, and it's kind of like a food fight. That's, I guess, the best way I would describe it. It's like just being caught in the middle of a food fight, and then the police come in and arrest you for being involved, and you're just sitting there eating your food, and you just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, right? I mean, that's basically what happened to me. I mean, just the wrong person called or complained, and like, again, we don't know who called and complained. We know, but we don't officially know, right? For the record, like, we know, but we don't. So it's like, yeah, I mean, what could you possibly say to the police that would cause, like, basically I got swatted, essentially, where somebody made a report. I mean, I'm speculating here, right? Otherwise, they just said, oh yeah, we're bothered by the fire pit. I mean, either way, the city used that as a pretext, right? Either the person who called lied or exaggerated greatly, or they didn't. And like I said, either way, the city of Wayne decided to do what they wanted to do, which was to harass, embarrass, and annoy me, right? To punish me, right? For my Facebook posts and comments, right? As the police officer said, right? In the body-worn camera footage, and of course, all about the pond, right? Because that was just political speech taken too far, right? That's what Zuck Pond was. That was political speech taken to level 11 out of 10, right? And you're not allowed to make a political statement against the city of Wayne. You're certainly not allowed to put the only body of water in the city of Wayne ever, and you're certainly not allowed to do it without the good graces, right, of the city of Wayne, and without their permission and endorsement, right? So that's just what it boils down to, guys. You're not allowed to participate, and you're supposed to, basically be, a good little boy and chill in the corner and, wear your pantyhose. If, the big bad Wayne government comes around, and you're supposed to, lick their boots, and if you don't, well, then they got to make an example out of you. And they really did try to make an example out of me, and in some ways they did, but they just weren't expecting. I guess they don't know what soldiers are, right? They claim that they honor veterans, right? But they seem to not understand us very well, right? They want to give you a veterans memorial, right? And they want to sit there and tell you how much thank you for your service, right? And how much they appreciate your sacrifices, right? That's what they'll tell you. And then what they'll do to you, they'll lock you in a cage without bond, without medical treatment, without, any hope of getting released. They'll remand you to jail repeatedly over signs, right? Because I made signs to speak out against what the city of Wayne was doing to me, right? And so, yeah, it's very telling, guys. It's very telling, right? And they're telling you, thank you for your service, thank you for your sacrifice. Here's your memorial. And then on the other side, veterans pond's not allowed, disabled vet source isn't allowed in our city. He's not even allowed to be in our city, right? And by the way, we're going to put you in jail, we're going to imprison you because you interfered with the enforcement of our policy. That's not a law, that we can't legally enforce as if it is a law. And we know that. We know that, but we're going to pretend that we don't, or we're just going to shrug our shoulders and say, well, who gives a fuck? And we're going to do it anyways, right? And then we're going to make an example out of you and your immigrant family, right? Because we care. The city of Wayne will also claim that they care about the immigrants too, right? The Democrats and the Republicans, they'll say, oh yeah, we care about the immigrants. Well, what did they do for my immigrant family? What did they do for us? Tried to take away my wife's home from her. That's what they did to me and my family. Tried to literally steal our home, steal our property, steal our land from us. But then, of course,